A pleasant good morning to you. It is Wednesday, December the 22nd. I'm Shane Seeley and this is the CBC Morning Report. Now, as the entertainment sector prepares to roll out the red carpet of events for the holidays after getting the green light from government here, the Omicron variant threatens to put the brakes on the easing of restrictions. This strain of COVID-19 has not been detected here just yet, but health officials in other countries where it has been detected are reimposing restrictions to curb the rapid spread. Now, here in Barbados, we are moving ahead with several events with several protocols in place. But in light of all that is happening with Omicron, the question is being asked, is this the right move? Or should we too be going back into restriction mode? Well, joining me this morning to give his take on the current entertainment climate will be Orlando Newton. He's the CEO of TicketPal, and he is also holding a New Year's event, one of the big New Year's events this holiday season at a new business in St. Lawrence Gap. And we will get to more from Orlando Newton when he joins us here on the Morning Report. But let's look at what is happening with COVID-19 here on the island and those numbers. We are seeing now a total of 66 new COVID-19 cases. So those numbers have gone back up slightly. 30 males and 36 females identified by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Monday, December the 20th. And this is from 1,058 tests conducted. Of these, 5 persons are under the age of 18, while 60 are 18 years and older. The age of one person is still unknown. There were 155 people in isolation facilities, while 979 people are in home isolation. So the number of people in home isolation has now dipped below the 1,000 mark. So it looks like we are moving in the right direction with these COVID-19 numbers, but still no cases of Omicron detected here. Now, under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, the total number of people with at least one dose of a vaccine is 155,312, while the total number of people fully vaccinated stands at 142,281. So before we look at what is happening with entertainment here over in Jamaica, it's a slightly different story. There, an elected official contends healthcare workers who are not vaccinated should be sent home. The mayor of Maypen, Winston Mara, has changed his stance on the topic of doctors and nurses refusing the jab.
Maypen's mayor, Winston Maraj, had his doubts in the early stages of the COVID-19 vaccine. This is what he had to say then.
You know, sometimes when something new come out, you can't just run into it because you don't know what effects it might have on you. So we want the big countries, them like America and Canada and England. Go ahead and take the vaccine and let us see how it works for a little while before we rush into it.
But his faith in the science has since come full circle. Just months later, he is now insisting that medical practitioners who refuse to get the jab should be penalized.
So if you're a healthcare worker, you should have taken the vaccine long time or else go your yard.
Mr. Maraj reasoned that the healthcare workers who have taken a hardline stance against the vaccine are not irreplaceable.
We have whole lot more people out there want to work. People call me every day, they have this degree and they have that degree and they have this certificate and whatever. As a member of the Southern Regional Health Authority Board, I'm saying this. No healthcare worker. So you can call your president. No healthcare worker should be working unless they are fully vaccinated.
He cited the irony of the stance of some healthcare workers.
I think to them people who are so bright that them first are there at the front of the line. They take it. The doctors and the nurses. And even the healthcare workers who working at the health center. Who giving people the jobs every day. None of them should be given any jobs unless they are fully vaccinated. None of them. That's my belief. You cannot preach to people and you don't believe.
And with COVID-19 cases on the rise over in the United States, President Joe Biden has announced a series of steps to mitigate the spread of the virus, including broader access to at-home testing, new vaccination sites across the country, and more federal support for COVID-burdened hospitals. President Biden outlined his winter plan in a speech last evening, pleading with the unvaccinated Americans to get the jab.
Biden announced a raft of measures to try and limit its spread, including 500 million free at-home rapid tests. Medical military personnel are also being activated to help overwhelmed hospitals. Biden says his government is prepared for the coming months with stockpiles of vaccines and personal protective equipment, or PPE. But he's warned the unvaccinated face a winter of severe illness and possibly death, and urged them to get their first shot.
All these people who have not been vaccinated, you have an obligation to yourselves, to your family, and quite frankly, I know I'll get criticized for this, to your country. Get vaccinated now. It's free. It's convenient. I promise you, it saves lives. And I honest to God believe it's your patriotic duty.
Well, Patty Culhane is following the story and joins us live from Washington. And Patty, Biden's message to people that are hesitant to get the vaccine or people who might be fatigued with the pandemic was pretty clear, that if you haven't been vaccinated or had your booster shot, now is the time to do it.
You know, he's walking this line. He knows that people are tired. We're going into our third year of this. So he's trying to draw the distinction. If you're vaccinated, if you're fully boosted, you should be fine. You can have your holiday plans. The pretty strong message to the unvaccinated is, look, if you don't get those shots, it's going to be a season of sickness and death. So fairly strong language coming from the president, and he keeps saying, look, I know you're tired of this. This isn't March of 2020, but it does feel a little bit reminiscent of that. For example, some people are having a hard time finding those vaccine shots. If you look at some statistics, only about 20 to 30% of the country has those additional booster shots in them. A full almost 30% of the country has no vaccination. So what we're seeing now is mask mandates are going back into effect, because in cities like Washington and New York, the case numbers are simply literally just climbing like that. So here in DC now, have to wear a mask back inside. And we're seeing very similar things to March of 2020. We've seen Broadway shows are shutting down. Professional sports are being canceled. Universities are going back online. So it's very reminiscent of that. And also, one thing that's really been missing is tests. You cannot find at-home tests anywhere. If you do, they're about $25 for 2 tests. And places that do the longer PCR tests, their lines are going on for hours. I talked to one person who waited 10 hours in New York City to get their child a COVID test because they had a close contact in their school. And the White House has really sort of changed their attitude on this whole at-home test. And the big concern here is the hospitals. In those 2 years that these frontline workers have been inundated with COVID patients, and I talked to one hospital administrator and he described it as constantly seeing death with no end in sight. So there are a lot of people in the healthcare community have simply quit, saying, I can't do this anymore. There are some estimates that the way Omicron is going, about 1/3 of the nation's healthcare workers could get sick. So what you're going to see them do is send about 1,000 medical professionals from the U.S. military into these communities. The administrator spoke with in Minnesota last week. He said he got 24 Air Force doctors, and that has been a lifesaver. They've been able to actually see the number of patients they need to be able to see.
Over in the United Kingdom now, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced that his government will not be introducing any new COVID-19 restrictions in England before Christmas. This as the daily deaths there have quadrupled.
Omicron is ripping through the UK at the moment, and London is the epicenter, so much so that the Mayor has declared an emergency situation. But the Daily Mail is a leading voice on the UK right, and it shows the relief particularly amongst the rebellious libertarian wing of the Conservative Party that it's freedoms that are being prioritised. Boris Johnson said on Monday night, "We won't hesitate to take action." The problem for some is that it looks very much like the Prime Minister has hesitated from taking action. His position is that while there are still big questions to be answered about the severity of Omicron, it's too soon to be shutting people up indoors. The counter position, when questions are answered and if the answers are bad, it'll be too late to do anything about it and the health service will be swamped. The opposition leader, Keir Starmer, whose Labour Party would have supported new restrictions if the Prime Minister had gone for them, says that Boris Johnson is putting his fractious party before the public. Of course, the spectre of new business and social curbs hasn't gone away, it's just been deferred for another day. Christmas may be safe, according to the Daily Mail, but New Year and beyond certainly isn't.
Well, the UK not imposing any restrictions, the US doing their thing, bringing in a number of rules to try to curb the spread. In Europe, they're shutting down parts of their business and entertainment sectors, and in Jamaica, they're doing much of the same. We'll talk about what we are doing in Barbados and how we should be responding with a stakeholder in the entertainment sector. Here with us, Orlando Newton. That's up next after the break right here on The Morning Report. Joining us here live on The Morning Report now is Orlando Newton. He is the CEO of Ticket Pal, and he's also organizing one of those big events for the New Year's Eve. It's called NYE, and it will be at a new business in St. Lawrence Gap. But before we get to that side of the entertainment that he's involved in, let's talk about the threat of Omicron. Orlando, good to have you on The Morning Report.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, and I know that you and your team has been busy preparing and planning ever since you got the green light. But now the cloud of Omicron looms large over the entertainment sector. It's not here yet, but there is the threat. It's not if, but when it will come to our shores. How do you prepare for entertainment events, knowing that it does take some planning and some long-term planning in many cases, when at the push of a button, probably you can see restrictions because of the spread of a variant like Omicron? How do you handle that?
It's very difficult for the industry, which I believe, and I always said, is even being burdened throughout this entire pandemic. The issue that we are having is that you have but no choice to move ahead, because for many of us, this is not a hobby, it's our livelihood. It has been very difficult, but we must trust and have, during this whole process, trust those in authority who's handling this. We do not know all the factors. This pandemic have raised its head a number of times in the entertainment industry, but what we cannot do, we cannot spend our time worrying, because I believe to worry is a waste of imagination. At this present time, it is not in Barbados, and we just have to move ahead with the opening of the industry, which have already started. But our sister industries, the hotel industry, the restaurant industry, must continue and are continuing, and we are also viewing it in that manner.
You and a team, you're working on this new Halo Ultra Lounge in St. Lawrence Gap. Great that you can start a business in this current climate, and then you're holding this NYE, a big New Year's Eve party. Talk to me about the expenses that you're incurring, because there's one thing about the cost of setting up and hosting the event, let alone a whole business. But then now add the fact that you have COVID-19, then you have the protocols in place. So you got to spend money on that as well. Testing and just ensuring that there's general sanitization to protect your patrons from COVID-19. How expensive is this undertaking now?
Because I'm operating as the operation manager for the project, and what we're doing right now is that it is an auto launch, which means it is a restaurant at the same time, and like all of our industry partners in the restaurant industry, we are preparing as they do. The process that for events itself is totally different. With events, there is a process to cover which we're still working out on different levels in government, the procedures and so forth. But the general consensus in the industry is that we were always planning for this time. We were prepared. We were talking with our partners internationally, Australia, Germany, Canada, and USA, on how they were preparing to reopen and what plans they were putting in place. As you know, in Miami, they did the carnival and they made sure they had all the steps together, which the same pre-testing as being done in Barbados, or proposed to be done in Barbados, either at recognized testing sites or on site by one of those professionals. So the vaccination, as we have been, which many of us in the industry have already done, plus the testing on site or 24 hours prior to the site is being done. All other procedures are basically what was already there.
Right.
The promoting of distancing, the sanitation, the wearing of masks when possible. Of course, you can't eat in a restaurant or you can't drink with a mask on your face. But the process have always been during the pandemic that wearing of masks, sanitizing of your hands, distancing yourself when possible, and staying within a bubble. This new location gives you the opportunity to have your own bubbles. A number of areas have been set up and designated for persons who wish to stay in their own bubbles and so forth. So the industry have been preparing. We have not been sitting down waiting for this to happen. We have been
Okay.
constantly preparing throughout this time.
With that said, can you give me an average percentage price increase on what you're now paying to host events? Because you know the business well, while you're doing the restaurateur project as well. Talk to me about that price increase. What's the average increase hike that you're seeing now that you're having to put out to host these events? And talk to me too about the patron experience. Paint that picture from coming in to going into the Fed, because we wouldn't want a situation where patrons come to the event and because they're missing one part of the protocol that they're turned back. So price increase and then coming into the event.
Of course, there's a price increase like for most businesses in Barbados. Because we are now reopening, we are faced with the same issues that most of the suppliers in Barbados are faced with. And citizens in Barbados, where there's a price increase. The setup costs, of course, we have doubled down on our security. We have created what I call marshals, COVID marshals within the events themselves. So you have these monitors just checking around, making sure that the protocols are being followed. We have additional barroom staff who would actually walk around, making sure that the bathrooms are kept as close as possible. But I'll go back from the protocols for entering an event, or the process as you would say. We have a situation where you buy your ticket, knowing, one, that you're vaccinated or you are prepared to be tested. That testing process is supposed to happen 24 hours prior to the event, or if available, if the option is available, which I think most patients should check and see, if the option is available to be tested on site. When they come to the event, the showing of the vaccination card or the pre-approval of the vaccination card is then processed. You're tested. It probably takes about 15 minutes, so you should come prepared to wait just a little bit to when you get there to be tested. The same procedures that is done at the doctor or where you go to the gymnasium will be in place, where there'll be distancing, there'll be sanitizing, you'll be tested. Given you're okay, then you would join the event itself, which will go through the normal protocols, which is a little bit more than almost any other industry, I should say. You'll be checked before you go in by an individual. Some industries have not have that in place, but we are going a little step ahead and making sure that we are manually testing that person's temperature once again, making sure that they're sanitized, and then they're free to enter the event as long as all those protocols are covered.
Rapid
Anything
testing
else?
as well, Orlando? Rapid
That's what I'm
testing as
saying.
well?
Yeah, on site, rapid testing would be available,
Okay.
or should be available, and that's an option that I believe that people should check and see if the event or where they're going do have that in place. If they do not have that 24-hour test, but it's recommended that you do get that 24-hour before to ease your wait time. If not, you're gonna have to wait about 15 or 20 minutes for the results of the test. That is also pending on the lines.
Wow. So very quickly, that average percentage price increase for events, is it doubled, tripled, 1.5 percentage points? Talk to me.
We're looking at basically a 20% increase in our expenses, but it's very difficult to say because as most businesses, when you open or reopen, to restart an air conditioning unit at some hotels in the industry could be up to $20,000 or $30,000 just to turn back on an air conditioning unit. So
Wow.
we are restarting an industry with a lot of unknowns, and these are one of the unknowns in our industry that we have to face. Additional securities, a lot of things we have to do, but we believe that we are prepared for it, we're ready for it, and we're
Right.
very thankful for the opportunity. And I always say, give us the opportunity and let us try, and that is what we're doing.
Orlando, thank you so much. I'm wishing you all the best because I want to come out and enjoy with you and your team as well. But you be safe and you keep your patrons safe as we go through this holiday season. See you on the outside.
That's a must. That's a must. Safety first.
Yes, thank you. Orlando Newton is the CEO of Ticket Pal Caribbean. Of course, on the other side, in a few minutes' time, we have Morning Barbados with our very own Pearson Boyne. Some interesting things happening on this Wednesday. Pearson, what do you have for us?
Well, today we've been taking a look at the parents' lobby. Is that just a passive noun, the place where we meet, or is it the active verb where we do have some action? We'll look at that in just a little while. We'll also today be telling the story of the Afro hair, as seen through the eyes of a Barbadian afar who's in southeast London. She'll share that journey with us. And in our delve through our manager's first aid kit, we'll be looking at situational leadership, not one size fits all. So that's just a little bit of what you can expect when you join me for Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. Well, the price of animal feed has gone up in Barbados, and there is a lot to talk about as far as that is concerned. The details are next. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Inder Weir, has called on the management of Pinnacle Feeds to justify the recent price hike of about 3%, given that in recent times international grain prices have actually gone down.
The price of grains have been declining, but not to the levels where they were earlier in the year between February, March, April, possibly May. So they have not really come all the way back down. And I cannot speak for Pinnacle. I will not even try. But what I can say to you is that if they've had an increase of 11% and now an increase of 3.5%, that's a total of 14.5%. And with the price of grains declining, I think Pinnacle would need to come to the public and explain why it is that they still need a 3.5% increase. And those details, and that type of quantitative analysis, I cannot give on Pinnacle's behalf, and I will not attempt to do.
In sporting news now, the West Indies Rising Stars under-19 team will have added preparation for the upcoming ICC World Cup when they face South Africa under-19s next week. Cricket West Indies has announced the two sides will clash in 450 over matches in St. Vincent and the Grenadines from December 26th to January 3rd at Arnisvale Stadium and Cumberland Playing Field. The World Cup runs from January 14th to February 5th in Antigua, Trinidad, St. Kitts and Guyana. Cricket West Indies staged a competitive internal tournament for the players in Antigua this summer before the squad traveled to England in September for a six-match series against the hosts, which they lost 4-2. Speaking to the CWI media, head coach Lloyd Reefer said the series will be a good gauge to see how his players will handle various situations. Time now for a look at the weather. The present temperature is 26.1 degrees Celsius. It's partly cloudy and slightly hazy on the outside. The apparent temperature is 29 degrees Celsius and the relative humidity stands at 76%. The barometric pressure this morning is 1012.2 millibars and those winds are coming out of the east at 38 kilometers per hour. There will be a low tide at 13 minutes after 11 this morning. The high tide will be later on in the afternoon at 21 minutes after 5. Those seas are rough in open water with swells peaking at 3 meters and holding steady. A small craft and high surf warning is in effect for above normal sea swells. Here in Barbados today, we'll have a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. And tonight, there will be a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few brief isolated light showers. And here's a quick look at the international weather forecast. That's it for this edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Well, I join in saying good morning to you indeed. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. Yes, indeed. Wednesday, the 22nd of December, 2021. We are 3 shopping days until December the 25th. I am Pearson Bowen. Yeah, quick early reminder to those of you as you wake up this morning to make your plans. Thank you so much for joining us on TV and online on our YouTube channel and our Facebook streams. Now, today we'll be taking a look with our gynecologist obstetrician at gynecological cancers. And perhaps that's a subject you need to hear about. unfortunately, at this time of the year, but you do need to hear about it at any time once it's a situation with which you're concerned. That's one area we'll be focusing on today. And Harrison College and Queen's College alumni are back together again. There's a big event they have coming up in just a matter of almost hours now. And so we'll be talking to them about that and how you can participate and just what your participation means at the major outcome. But let's get started today by looking first at the parent lobby. And as I teased you a little earlier on, what is it? Is it a noun, the place where we meet, or is it the active verb where we do something about it? Meeting us to talk a little bit about what the parent lobby is about is Saran Gibson, who's the owner of that podcast, The Parent Lobby. Saran, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. How are you?
I'm doing well. How do you do?
I'm well.
Good. So first of all, you've dedicated this to Thelma Gibson. Relation?
Yes. My grandmother, late grandmother.
So why is the podcast, The Parent Lobby, in dedication to her?
Because a lot of what I do came from her, and she had a lot of impact on my life as well. So I dedicated it to her.
You observed naturally her parenting style, and it was more than
Yes.
just stick and belt. What was it about
Correct.
her parenting style that you thought was so interesting?
So I guess what she did, and my dad and then his siblings' lives as well, learning that, it has an impact on the way I parent as well.
Mm-hmm. So the parent lobby is what? What is it?
So I created it as a place for parents to learn and also share with each other, because it's what I do as well. I like to take like little ideas from what I see others doing and implement it into my parenting style. So I figured if we can share that with parents among ourselves, it would help a bit, because sometimes parenting can be overwhelming. So yeah.
Or you got to where you wanted to go next. Why? Which is, and you've said, is because parenting at times can be overwhelming. What's been the response so far, and how many people really come into this space called the Parent Lobby?
It has been more than I imagined, actually. Yeah, it's a lot. I have listeners, places that I've never been. France. I'm like, France, okay. So yeah, it's a lot.
What are you picking up generally are some of the parenting challenges that are brought into the Parent Lobby?
So what I've seen is because, time is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And even for me, how I was brought up is different now than how I am actually raising my son, because of, I guess you can say, the kids nowadays aren't the children that I grew up with. They're so different and more modern. They have this sense of independence from the time they're small. So, it's a lot of learning as you go along.
Who comes more frequently, the mothers or the fathers, or are you seeing equal numbers?
Okay, so with the Parent Lobby as well, I wanted to reach fathers as well, because, most times you hear of, oh, mommy this, mommy that, and I'm a mother as well, and the kids it's always mommy, 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 mommy. So I wanted to reach out to fathers as well, just to see their side of things. But I would have to say the mothers.
So why do you think it is always mommy, mommy, mommy? I'd love to hear your point of view, because I have one too. Let me hear
I
you.
am still trying to figure that out, but I think because it's the nurture. Like, okay, so with my son, he would always come to me, mommy, can I have this? I'm like, okay, what if we ask your dad? No, I want you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, but your dad can do the same thing. So I'm still trying to learn what it is about mothers that's always the first go-to. But with me, though, I'm opposite. My first go-to is always my father.
See, there you go. So there's balance in some way. So in this space, the Parent Lobby, parents come together, they share their challenges, but they also hear some other inspiring stories so one can engage in those challenges as well. So I want you to give me a good example not a good example, but help me understand the experience when parents meet in the Parents Lobby.
So An experience would be, or I can say an example would be, say for instance, I go through a situation with my son, and there's another person going through that same situation. I may handle it one way while they handle it another way. And then now if we bring in a third person that's going through the same thing, what necessarily works in my relationship with my child may not work for that third person, but what the other person did may work. So that's a way to share. That's how we share and we learn from each other.
It's a sharing of in a community, and that's because a community
Yes,
is a community
correct.
to raise a child. Now, but there's a little bit more. You reach a little bit further than saying, okay, it's all words, all words. It's a space where you can off-burden that off your feelings. You actually provide assistance. How does that work?
Yes. So that came around as I was doing my internship here, because I'm actually going to school for human services. So as I was doing my internship, I was able to implement what I was learning into the parent lobby. So I created now a space where it could be like a resource center. So say there's a parent in need of anything, they can reach out and I can try to find resources that would help them.
And so far, so good.
Yes, yes.
But you do this do you do this on your own? Because you just said, I try to find resources that can help them. Is it
Yes.
that you are the sole person finding resources to help them?
For now, yes.
How much time in a day, because you're studying, so how much time in a day do you dedicate to finding these resources to help them?
It's a balance. It's a balance. So I would dedicate a few hours if I can. If it's something where I have downtime and someone reaches out, I could hop on it right away and see what I find.
All right, it's not a place for the counselors, it's a place where parents can share. So for anyone watching today who wants to join the parent lobby, where can they join it?
So our social media pages all across the board is at the parent lobby. And we also started a parenting group, a community over on Facebook groups. And that is the Parent Lobby, a safe place for moms and dads.
All right, so there's the information on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. On Facebook and Instagram, it's the Parent Lobby. On the website, theparentlobby.com is where you can go and you can begin the engagement. And clearly, you know, as Saran would say to you, you know, if you have something you can assist as well, because there are people who have physical needs, and if you can lend that assistance as well, that'll be fantastic. There was a recent give back that you started as well. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, so you know, with the pandemic, it's been, 2 years? We're going into the third year. And I have been fortunate enough, you know, to maintain all of my needs. So I decided to do a give back. And I decided what better place than Barbados to do it, where I was born and raised.
So what was the give back?
So what I did is I had to look first because I'm in Florida, so I had to find ways to do that. So as I was doing my research, I saw that Massey had where you could purchase groceries and have it delivered. So when I reached out, I also found that I could purchase vouchers. So I, thanks to Keisha Franklin and the team over there at the corporate offices of Massey, I was able to do that, and we were able to give to 4 families vouchers to Massey.
So, Randy, you're doing this in tribute to your grandmother. I'm looking at your face, and you seem like quite a young woman, you know. So, if you don't mind my asking, how old are you roughly? Your decade? What decade are you in?
I am 35. I don't mind sharing.
But you look fantastic for the 35, for real. Because I'm trying to
you.
imagine, you know, what is this passion behind this young woman to do this, the parent lobby, and the sense of satisfaction that you get by doing this?
So, you know, it took a while for me to get here, but my dad always told me it's inside of me. I just had to find it. And it's something that makes me very happy. When I can give back and make others happy, I feel so good on the inside. So that's why I do it.
And you're doing it very well. It's called the Parent Lobby. If you've never heard of it, now you know about it, and you can go online to theparentlobby.com theparentlobby.com, or if you want to go to Facebook or Instagram, it's called The Parent Lobby, and get to know more. And in so you can join the lobby as well. You can sit and wait in the lobby and have a chat to the amount of parents as well. But most of all, you can do something. Let it be an active verb now, the lobby. And you can join those parents in effecting change in parenting styles so that we have a better, safer community in which we live, because our children are being raised on some of the best principles as shared by the best people to do so, the parents. So Saran Gibson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wish you every success with your continued effort in the parent lobby, and I hope that more and more people come on board to assist. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome indeed. She's only 35. The parent lobby runs on the power, the energy, the passion of Saran Gibson, a Barbadian. She's, as you said, now in Florida, but continuing to bring relief to parenting across the world. We're going to take a break here. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
13 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock, and you know, it seems as if nothing can be done to separate the two of these, Harrison College and Queen's College. And I can hear them chuckling already in the background. Joining me now are two members of the steering committee, Paulavette Atkinson and Kathy Daniel. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados. Season's greetings.
Season's greetings to both of you as well. So literally, is it true that there's nothing one can do to separate the two of you?
Not at all. We're bound. We're bond. There's a bond. We're bound together.
Why would you want to?
Why? Because. Just because. So, you know, that's a good enough answer. So here it is. It's what a phenomenal year it has been for both of your alumni. You know, you've come together, you've worked together because you're working towards very big projects. How has it been? How would you describe, Paulavette, first with you? How would you describe the journey thus far and the joy that it has been bringing?
It's been a seamless journey, Pearson, and it's been wonderful reconnecting with other alumni, not only from Harrison College, but from Queen's College, and coming together for this very worthy cause. You would recall that back in October, we had our grand reunion, and now we're at it again. We're collaborating for another segment of that worthy cause. And it's been wonderful. We've had so many more alumni join us from around the world. The grand reunion gave us an opportunity to touch all corners of the globe and engage our alumni in giving back and paying forward towards the development of the other students and the future of Barbados. So it's been wonderful.
Kathy, did you have that same experience in the meet and greet and the recent online experiences as well?
Oh, Absolutely. That was amazing. I think part of the challenge has been, of course, that we are unable to meet in person. So it was a huge sort of mindset shift, and then use the technology to do things virtually. And in any case, it was probably more effective because we were able to reach people who might not have been able to participate in person because of where they were located at the time.
Yes, you know, it's so hard for me because many of my siblings went to your schools, Harrison College and Queen's College, from brothers, sisters, nieces, and nephews. This is so unfair, but nevertheless.
It's lovely. Think of it as an extension, an extension of the family.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. So you're working towards some big projects now, I know. So let's talk about it because, Paulette, you represent Harrison College. What's the project you're working towards there?
Well, we are looking to extend STEM, and certainly we're working vigorously in the development of a robotics lab. We want to be at the forefront of this new technology and empower our young people to use science, technology, engineering, and math to really propel our society and our world. And also, we are working on a food science laboratory. And you're probably wondering, food science, Harrison College? Well, it's all about ensuring that we have food security. And especially given what has been happening in the world over these past 2 years, it's important for our developing country to be able to sustain ourselves in terms of the provision of food. So through the robotics lab and through the development of a food science lab, we see this as a wonderful avenue to achieve these goals and to help our country.
It's a very good cause. And Kathy, what about you? What is it for Queen's College? By the way, Kathy, one of my younger brothers was among the first set of boys to go to Queen's College. He was the first head boy at Queen's College. He won an exhibition from Queen's College. Yeah, I know you would say that. So talk to me, what is the project that you're working on at Queen's College?
Well, there's actually three main things that we're focused on. The first one is upgrading the science lab with equipment. Both of our schools are pursuing studies in robotics. And I'd like to quote an HC alumnus, Cardinal Ward, who is an MIT professor, and he says robotics is one of the most effective disciplines for promoting interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And if you think about it, look at the world that we live in now. Robotics will apply in so many different areas. So we really need to uplift our young people, help them study, help them learn, give them more opportunities, more options. And then there's something that's near and dear to my heart because I've been working on it for years with the team. I didn't start it, don't get me wrong. The sports pavilion.
Yes.
Okay, and we need to finish that. We need to complete the security fencing. And this is something that's been going on for several years. We've had our setbacks. But if you think about sports and what it can do for our young people, even though every young person, every student athlete may not be a world-class athlete, you need the support. You need physiotherapists, you need trainers, you need managers, all of this stuff. And this is something that can help empower so many of our young people and give them an opportunity to make something more of themselves. The other thing, the third one, oh boy, performing arts, upgrading the equipment in the QC hall so we can give more support to our creatives. And we have so many people that have come through the doors of QC. Janice Millington, Rachel Springer, more recent graduates such as Shabaka, Mikey Mercer, Elan Trotman, Natalie. These are people who are all QC grads. And can you imagine all the talent that is out there now, that if we can enhance it, polish it, give it the opportunity to grow and go out there and do something wonderful.
Yes, yes. You're absolutely right. And you've just walked right in. I know, Paula, you're aching to say, hey, these are the people who went to Harrison College. Let me tell you too, Kathy. And I'll give it a moment. But, you know, there's a big event that's coming up. And in this big event, there are also going to be excellence coming from Harrison College as well. Talk to me a little bit about that event and who from Harrison College will be on the card for it, Paulette.
Yes, thank you, Pearson. And we are having what we are calling a virtual upliftment year-end fundraising concert, and it's all about upliftment. And on the cards, we have Rupi, we have Marve as our headline acts. And we also have some very exciting and new talent coming from within the body of the school. And these are names that you would not have heard before, but they're certainly up and coming. And, you know, these are some young people with so much promise, and they're not going to disappoint. So we do have a virtual concert, and it is on tomorrow, the 23rd of December at 7:30 p.m. And we want you to log on. We want you to also use this as an opportunity, even though it's free, to really donate. We want you to pay it forward. We want you to support our young people, the next generation. And how can you do that? We have our website, and we also have the link that you can donate through, and that is hcqcalumninetwork.org, or you can join us via Facebook, facebook.com/HCQC Alumni Association. And when you go on, you can donate. No amount is too small. It's all about supporting our young people, supporting the next generation. And then from there, you will be given the opportunity to get the link to join us, to listen in, to share in the joy and the upliftment that music and all the talent from our respective schools, you know, the artists. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be lovely, especially after this year that we've had. This is the time now to really get in the mood, get in the spirit of Christmas and give. And, you know, no donation is too small. We really want your support. We need your support.
I love the convenience that you've made for all who are going to be joining this virtual concert tomorrow to be able to go to the website and make that donation. You've thought it all the way through. I don't have to go off to a third party something to get it done. It's all in one space. I watch the concert, I click donate, and of course I enter all my details. And the money goes towards all of these worthwhile projects of which you've outlined already. And so we want to encourage people again, tomorrow evening, 7:30, online. If we can, production crew, put back up those links again so we show people where to go so that you can actually watch it and view it. And there it is, folks. You can go onto the network, hcqcalumninetwork.org. That's the website. I know it's a mouthful, but we'll post this on our social media. Or you can go to the Facebook page, HCQC Alumni Association. You can view it there as well. But while you're there, click donate, because every little cent goes towards these worthy projects at both schools, Harrison College and Queen's College, as we empower our young people. But most of all, you get a chance to enjoy some great Barbadian talent. Barbadian talent.
That's right.
Birthed at
That's
both
right.
of these schools.
And one more thing, Pearson, very important. The first prize, once you donate, you're eligible to win wonderful prizes. And the first prize is a 43-inch Fire TV.
What?
So who doesn't want wonderful television for the season? So the more you log on, the more you log on, the more chances. The more you donate, the more chances you have to win not only this first prize, but other wonderful prizes. So it's for a worthy cause, but we're also giving back to you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Kathy, you're giving. That's well done. I like Kathy, she just body language says it all. Hello. That's what we do at Harrison College and Queen's College.
It is to help. It is to invest in our future, invest in our youth after a very, very challenging couple of years. And we want to give our people, our young people, they're the future.
Yes.
What is it? Children are the future, the Whitney Houston song.
That's right. I believe
lyrics
the children
from
are
that
our future. Teach them well. Let them lead the way.
Yes.
Teach them well. Let them lead the way.
Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Don't make me quote Whitney. Don't make me do that this morning. But nevertheless, folks, it's on tomorrow evening, 7:30. Get the link. Get there early and start your donating. But most of all, enjoy the brilliant talent that will be coming from the alumni of Harrison College and Queen's College. Thank you so much, ladies, and all the best for the season, but much success with tomorrow's event as well. Paulavette Atkinson and Kathy Daniel, both members of the steering committee for the alumni of Harrison College and Queen's College. The association together is just phenomenal. They've been doing great work this year, and it crowns off the year now with this fundraising event, another one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
You too. Thank you so very much. All the best. Wow. So where will you be tomorrow evening at 7:30 before your screens watching that concert live? We're coming right back with more after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 1 minute after 7 o'clock. In just a bit, we'll get you updated in the news. But still to come, a chance for you to win with Crumbs Bakery in our Crumbs question of the day. And also today, coming up, we'll be looking at gynecological cancers. I know some of you will go like, oh my goodness. No, it needs to be addressed. We want to look at some of the conditions, and also there are some very improving outcomes. I'm sure that's good news you'd want to hear when we hook up with our gynecologist and obstetrician to talk a little bit more about that. Dr. John Barker will come by as he shares from his experience and expertise so that he assures you the outcomes are improving, and so it's not a most dreadful situation to be in. We'll also today be taking a look further into our management styles. Not one size fits all, and perhaps this is the time you need to hear that there are situational leadership styles. And what are they? We'll be talking to Joan Underwood as we continue in the book, Manager's First Aid Kit, looking at situations and then what is the best approach to dealing with those situations. And it's going to be rather interesting, so I hope you have your book and the chapter at hand. We'll be looking at that. We'll be hooking up with a Bajan Afar as well as we hear the story of the Afro hair. And I wonder what it is about that caused her to stop to write the book. She's residing in southeast London, and so she'll join us a little while to talk to about her experience with the Afro hair and what we can all learn and appreciate more about Afro hair. But it's, I believe, time at 3 minutes after 7 to get a look again at the news. And once again, here's Shane Sealing.
Thank you, Pearson. Here's your 7 a.m. headline news. Expect to pay more to attend upcoming events given the green light to be held during the holiday season and into 2022. That's because organizers are now spending at least 20% more than their usual budget to host these festivities. Chief Executive Officer of TicketPal Caribbean, Orlando Newton, explains this is just the beginning of an era of uncertainty for the entertainment sector during the COVID-19 pandemic. He's been speaking to the Morning Report as his team prepares to host NYE, a New Year's Eve event at the soon-to-be-launched Halo Ultra Lounge in St. Lawrence Gap. Here's what Orlando Newton had to say.
We're looking at basically a 20% increase in our expenses, but it's very difficult to say because as most businesses, when you open or reopen, to restart air conditioning unit at some hotels in the industry could be up to $20,000 or $30,000 just to turn back on an air conditioning unit. So we are restarting an industry with a lot of unknowns, and these are one of the unknowns in our industry that we have to face. Additional securities, a lot of things we have to do, but we believe that we are prepared for it, we're ready for it, and we're very thankful for the opportunity. And I always say, give us the opportunity and let us try, and that is what we're doing.
Meanwhile, it could be a bit more frustration for patrons who could be waiting a bit longer just to get into some of these events. Also, if you fail to cover your bases as far as being vaccinated or having an up-to-date COVID-19 PCR or rapid test, you could be denied entry. The TicketPal CEO takes us through the requirements for events.
You buy your ticket knowing, one, that you're vaccinated or you are prepared to be tested. That testing process is supposed to happen 24 hours prior to the event, or if the option is available, which I think most patients just check and see, if the option is available to be tested on site. When they come to the event, the showing of the vaccination card or the pre-approval of the vaccination card is then processed. You're tested. It probably takes about 15 minutes, so you should come prepared to wait just a little bit to when you get there to be tested.
Looking at the local COVID-19 situation now, a total of 66 new COVID-19 cases, 30 males and 36 females were identified by the Besto Santos Public Health Lab. That was on Monday, December 20th, from 1,058 tests conducted. Of these, five people were under the age of 18, while 60 are 18 years and older, and the age of one person is still unknown. There were 155 people in isolation facilities and 979 people in home isolation. Under the national vaccination program for COVID-19, the total number of people with at least one dose is 155,312, while the total number of persons who are fully vaccinated stands at 142,281. In other news, the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Indar Weir, has called on the management of Pinnacle Feeds to justify the price hike, given that in recent times international grain prices have actually gone down.
The price of grains have been declining, but not to the levels where they were earlier in the year between February, March, April, possibly May. So they have not really come all the way back down. And I cannot speak for Pinnacle. I will not even try. But what I can say to you is that if they've had an increase of 11% and now an increase of 3.5%, that's a total of 14.5%. And with the price of grains declining, I think Pinnacle would need to come to the public and explain why it is that they still need a 3.5% increase. And those details, that type of quantitative analysis, I cannot give on Pinnacle's behalf, and I will not attempt to do.
The Agriculture Minister is, however, suggesting any hike in the price of meat and poultry products will only be felt by consumers 3 to 4 weeks from now, given the volume of feed already in stock. Meanwhile, the Barbados Agricultural Society is reiterating the point that consumers should not see price increases for Christmas. The Chief Executive Officer, James Paul, says the just announced price hike will not affect meat already processed for sale, but the additional cost will feed into future prices.
In terms of prices, that will not influence prices greatly on any produce sold during this Christmas week, because a lot of that feed would not have been used by the livestock slaughterers. It is only going forward after this week now. And remember that in case of poultry, we're talking about 8 weeks or so. That this will basically carry over to January and February and early February, that you would then see that the farmers have it in absorb those increased costs.
And that's it for your 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. 9 minutes after 7. Take a break here. Get your thinking caps on, because when we come back, it's the Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
7:10. Time for us now to have our Crumbs Bakery question of the day. Time for you to call me on 228-5562 or 228-5563. The two numbers to call, 228-5562 or 228-5563, to answer this question. In the good olden days, what was spread around the house to represent snow? Easy so. In those good old days, what was spread around the house to represent snow? You got to be old enough to know. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Those teenagers will have no clue. So in those good old days, what was spread around the house to represent snow? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Call now. Now is the appointed time to get your call in. So let's see if we get a winner. Good morning. Hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning. So,
hello?
Yes, hi, are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you now. What's your first name, ma'am?
It's Keisha.
Hello, Keisha. Good to meet you.
Same here, Pearson. Of course, I would know
wonderful.
you. You're always on Mornin Barbados, of course.
Well, thank you for turning your TV on in the morning, indeed. What parish are you watching us from, Keisha?
St. Michael.
Oh, great. You know there are only 3 shopping days until Christmas, right, Keisha?
I know, and it's hectic.
And Keisha, have you finished your shopping yet, Keisha?
No, I'm just shopping for my little one. Easy, easy.
Oh, how old is the little one?
He's just 3.
Oh, that doesn't make it easy. Here, trust me, he has choices too.
Yeah, but that's true. But I know what to get him. We know what to get him, myself and the father.
Do you want to tell me so he doesn't hear?
Sorry?
Do you want to tell me so he doesn't hear?
No, it's just a toy set, like a truck set or whatever. But he likes cars, so...
That's what every little boy wants. Something with wheels that he can go and have a good time with.
Correct.
There you go.
Yes.
Simple and easy. All right, so what's your answer for me, Keisha?
Is it white marl?
You ever met black marl? It's just a question, but you're right though. I'll take it. Is marl or white sand? Have you lived those days?
I've seen it being done.
I'm sorry.
I can't remember it being done in my family, but
You're
I've
right.
seen it being done.
You see, because with a name like Keisha, you wouldn't know. Keisha came in relatively recently. But yeah, man, we used to have that happen. You know, you spread it around the house. I'm old enough to know this. And you felt as though that you were celebrating Christmas like everybody else from overseas.
But
Those were the good old days.
You're giving away your age.
And I'm proud of it. Listen, my production crew are talking to me in my ear telling me, all right, oh man, that's all right. I am old enough to celebrate the fact that I've lived those days. And that's a joy that a lot of people would never ever have.
That's true.
So Keisha, all the best to you. Thank you so much for answering correctly. You're welcome. Stay on the phone. Stay on the phone. Don't put down. Good girl. Good girl. There she goes. She's Keisha from St. Michael. She said to me that answer on your screen, marl or white beach sand. Yes, there was a man named Boyson. Boyson, if you're from St. Lucie, you know Boyson. Boyson was a character, you know, and Boyson would hoist it from the beach. He'd go to River Bay, my area, and he would collect, and he would come. I could hear him now, Miss Springer, my grandmother, Miss Springer, Miss Springer. And you know, to look out, and you know, Boyson comes with your bit of a Christmas treat. Of course, you get a little something for it too. The good old days, eh? The good old days. We'll take a break. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
60 minutes now after 7 o'clock. Dr. John Barker, one of our favorite obstetricians and gynecologists, joins us now. Good morning to you, Dr. Barker.
Hi, good morning. How are you, Pearson?
I'm great. Before we start, did you know the answer to the question of the day?
No.
John, jeez. All right, I'm the oldest in the batch. Fair enough. So, Dr. Barker, we're going to be looking today at those gynecological cancers, and you're ending with improved outcomes. So we just want to bring hope to people today as well. So where do we start in this journey through gynecological cancers?
All right. Now, any cancer diagnosis has a significant psychological impact on the patient because most people think the minute as you have a cancer diagnosis that the world is over. And that's not really the case most of the time because most of the cancers are caught early. Now, what I'm going to talk about roughly is the cancer waiting times and stuff. These could be skewed due to COVID and stuff because of the backlog in work. But essentially, once you have a suspected cancer, and these are UK guidelines because I was trained in gynecology in the UK. So essentially, what they do is that you have 2 weeks from the GP referral into the actual system. And once you get seen within the 2 weeks by the specialist, then we try to get back all the results within 2 weeks. So roughly, that's a month to begin with. Now, once you get your investigations done, then you're then referred to the multidisciplinary team, and that essentially consists of the gynecologist and the radiologist and the oncologist as well, too, the medical oncologist and the pathologist. So they have a big meeting, and then they go through the individual cases. So in terms of perspective, when I was in Liverpool, we used to look around 60 cases a week. So that's about 240 a month. So within the year, you're well going to 3,000 cases. So essentially, what they would do then is plan your care and for the surgeries and stuff. So once you get the decision in terms of the care, then everything should be done within 28 days. And when you take it from the beginning, meaning that suspected cancer diagnosis to treatment shouldn't be longer than 61 days or roughly 2 months.
Okay.
So that's essentially in terms of the guidelines, in terms of the timeline for treatment.
So from diagnosis right through to end of treatment, at least the first stage of treatment, within 62 days, 3 months roughly.
Within 62 days,
right.
Yeah, ideally. And that's more than 90% in terms of auditing results.
That's great. Now, cancer managed in the context of MDTs, you know me in abbreviations. So what does that mean, first of all, and then talk to me a little bit about what that is.
Right, so that's a multidisciplinary team, or locally they call it a tumor board. So essentially, in terms of improving outcomes, so what they found was that when you have a group of professionals managing one condition, you get better outcomes because everybody has a different perspective. And in terms of treatment, all the treatment should be evidence-based with the latest medical evidence. So instead, if you have stuff being managed by one person, then that's only one person's view. But if you have 3 gynecologists and the medical oncologist and stuff, then everyone has a different view, or everyone has an accepted protocol of management. So therefore, everybody sings on the same page. You can go to varying countries and you can see different management positions on different cancers. However, sometimes everything needs to be streamlined so that everybody is thinking on the same page.
Is that the process?
The multidisciplinary team.
Yeah, the multidisciplinary team, is that the process here? Because, I mean, you could be in private practice and then it's just you. But is this something that one experiences in general in Barbados, this multidisciplinary team approach?
Well, as far as I know, there is a tumor board, or there should be one in terms of in operation. Privately, it all depends on the person. Say like myself, I would contact UK because I'm UK trained, so I would more than likely contact the gynecologist, etc., overseas. But that's just me because that's the protocols that I am used to. But they should do it, one. And two, in terms of data, it's very important for the data. So in terms of any person doing it privately, should still contact the hospital and give them the data in relation to what patients they have encountered and the cancer diagnosis. Because the more data you have, the more information you have at your fingertips and to improve outcomes.
That's what we're heading towards, improved outcomes, and that's what is good for a lot of people. So there is a cancer unit at the hospital?
Yes, it's a cancer unit at the hospital. UK essentially, what they have is a diagnostic unit, cancer unit, or a gynecology unit. So essentially, any person who has any cancer or suspected cancer, that would be either ovarian, endometrial, cervical, or vulval, will be seen in the actual clinic. The investigations will be done in relation to the particular issue, and the investigations are the crux of the matter. So say like if you have endometrial or suspected a lady with postmenopausal bleeding, in terms of gold standard management, if you suspect any issues, then she should ideally get a hysteroscopy, which is a camera in the womb, and a biopsy as well, either directed biopsy or a propelled biopsy. The gold standard, as I said, is hysteroscopy. In terms of cervical cancer, as long as the tissue sample shows that you have cervical cancer, in terms of clinical staging or investigations, the MRI is the better option. However, locally, sometimes you can do a CT scan, which is usually done. However, the MRI is the best modality in terms of further planning. For ovarian cancer, if somebody suspected of cancer, then do all the blood investigations and the CT imaging. And then in relation to vulval cancer, which is essentially biopsies. So once the diagnosis is made, then the patients will be discussed at the MDT.
Overall care, though, having had the diagnosis, we know what it is, and within the 62 days or so, the treatments are all pretty much, first stage of treatment is complete. What's the level of service thereafter?
Right. So essentially, once the diagnosis is made, you have every individual is different. So essentially, what you would do is to try and counsel the patient adequately, tell them that everything isn't over, and then you try to take baby steps because there's a lot of information to process. Ideally, you should have an oncology nurse who will be the bridge between the oncology person and the patient, because the doctor might not be there all the time, whereas the patient might make their concerns known to the intermediary person. Sometimes you might need psychological support as well, which is very important. And also too, in relation to coping, the family should be involved. I know some people some people might not want their family to be involved, to be with them on the journey, but that is an issue because at the end of the day, it's only you, and you can only do so much. So usually we would advise them to get their family involved as well, or at least at least one other person, because sometimes if you talk to one person, they might not, well, they say they understand, but they might not actually take in everything that you tell them, whereas the other person who's there, they might take it in and ask you some other questions that the actual patient might not be able to think about at the time. And essentially, what we try to do is patient-centered care. So you give the patient all the advice and then make them empowered to help facilitate in any decision making. And this actually improves the outcome in relation to psychologically and stuff, because the patient is actually involved in the care.
It's warming, particularly at this time of year, for a lot of people to know that if you are confronted with this situation, something alarms you, whether it's the issue of blood, excessive, and you have to go to your gynecologist, and you're told this, that within a relatively short period of time, there's expertise, a multidisciplinary team that can help you manage it, and hopefully then we have some very positive outcomes as well. So it's going to be a process that you don't have to be afraid of, because with people like yourself, you make the process so much simpler. But you're recommended to bring along our family, bring along someone for support.
Yes, please. Yeah, it helps in terms of having the psychological support, and also to it gives a level of comfort to the patient as well.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Dr. John, we're 3 shopping days away from Christmas. Are you finished? You're laughing.
I haven't even started.
Typical man, but that's all right. I wish you only the very best, sir. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Same to you and everybody.
All right,
Same to
thank
you.
you. Dr.
All
John
right, thank
Barker, obstetrician gynecologist this morning. Again, the outcomes are positive. You know, within a certain relatively short period of time, they ramp up the effort to assist those of you who find yourself managing gynecological cancers. We'll take a break right here. When we come back, get your book handy because we're looking today at situational leadership, and it's something you need to hear. Take a break and we'll be back with more. 28.5 minutes after 7 o'clock now, and we are meeting up with our girl Joan Underwood, the author of the book Manager's First Aid Kit. And today we're looking at situational leadership. Joan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. Good morning, Barbados.
You know, though you're far apart, you're always in our heart. I wanted to say that so badly to you.
And I welcome hearing it.
Thank you so much. Joan, we are 3 days away from December the 25th. Are you ready?
Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that.
That sounds like a no, but that's all right. So, Joan.
Not there yet.
I'm not even near there yet. We're looking today at situational leaderships. I'm so glad we're looking at this subject because I think in lots of cases, a lot of people get it wrong. I use the word deliberately wrong. And you start the chapter 10, by saying there is no such thing as a bad leadership style. They all work. Leadership is about learning when to use each style to effectively influence others. But we grew up in a generation that says it must be by the hard rule, you know, stick or else. And that's not necessarily the best outcome.
Oh, not at all. And it's contextual, eh?
Yes.
So there are some circumstances where you do need, where the command and control approach works. So for example, if you're walking along Bay Street and you're with a child and the child makes to dart out into traffic, that's not the time to consult with the child about the appropriate way to navigate traffic. You're gonna grab them and yank them back onto the sidewalk.
Yes.
Right? So there are times when command and control is what is required. However, it's not one size fit all. So you really do need to be discerning to be able to determine what's the most appropriate approach and the most appropriate way for me to lead in this circumstance based on the individual and some specific variables that we're going to talk about in a little bit.
And for a lot of people who've just moved into either supervisory or leadership positions, it's a bit tough because you've come through one way and now you're asked to manage all of these different individuals units of production, in some instances in your own head, who have their own feelings and emotions and points of view. And you just don't know, because as far as you're concerned, this is the way. And then you meet a roadblock, and you just don't know how to move from there. Let's break it down for a lot of people so they best understand why that happens, and what can we do when that happens.
All right, because you have your units of production, which we've moved away from, thank God.
Yes.
These people, these human beings that you are leading, they're all different. And our challenge as leaders is to meet people where they are and help them to get to where we need them to be. Now, they don't all show up in the same way. So there are two variables that you need to assess for everyone within your team. And the first one is their ability to execute the task at hand. And note well, I said ability to execute the task at hand, not ability writ large.
Yes.
Because there's some instances, there's some tasks where I will show up as being highly competent. And there are other tasks where I will be floundering. So you can't just have a one-size approach, even to managing me.
Yes.
Because it depends on the task at hand. So the ability is the first thing you need to assess. The second thing is willingness. So you can think of it as a 2x2 matrix where you're mapping ability and willingness. So there's some tasks where I'll be both able and willing, and that's easy peasy, because what you need to do then is to leave me alone and let me do it.
Yes.
Right? So you can delegate and step back when you have made the determination in consultation with the individual that they are both able and willing to execute the function. So your people become empowered. They enjoy the fact that you have confidence in them. You don't need to micromanage them, looking over their shoulder. And what you do need to do, though, and we'll talk about delegation, I think, in our next conversation, but what you do need to do is to establish a check-in system. So you can say, well, I am confident that you're both able and willing to execute this task. I just need you to let me know when you're done or if you run into any difficulty. Otherwise, you go do you.
Indeed. And I like the fact that you go ahead.
No, go ahead, because I was going to give another option.
Because I like the fact that you recognize that it is situational again. You know, because Joan did well this time does not mean that Joan's approach to the next task will be equal to the previous approach. And it's one of the things that I battle with a lot in here, because my whole thing all the time is with every new request for something, you have to recognize that that person goes back into almost a childlike state. Is there the question, am I able to do this? Do I have the ability to do it? And am I equally willing as I would have been for the previous task? And I have to sit there and adjust myself to that reality. And it's not a case of Pearson, you're being weak in this instance, but the reality is I'm introducing a new concept. And I have to be patient enough to recognize who I'm introducing it to and what are their abilities and what is their level of willingness.
And that is the essence of situational leadership. And it may sound cumbersome when we first talk about it, but it becomes easier. And like anything, you go through a learning curve. So initially you have to put more effort into it. But then as you continue to practice, you continue to hone your craft, you become better at making that diagnostic assessment vis-a-vis ability and willingness. And so I think it would be helpful for our listeners if we run through the 4 elements. I dealt with the delegation, that is the appropriate approach when someone is both able and willing. But what if you have someone who is neither able nor willing? You might ask what they're doing on the job, but it happens, right? You do have some people who show up, and I'll give what I think is a safe example. So let's say you have an intern who is, they're at CBC for the summer or for the holiday. They're there primarily because they need some money, because they may be a student and they, I need to, have some pocket change, or need to get money to buy books or whatever it is. So they're there, their primary motivation is to get the stipend.
Yes.
Right? what's the task at hand? They may be part of your production team, but they've never worked in that environment before. They don't know how to operate the cameras or whatever switches, whatever you use there. So they're unable and not so willing either. Okay? How do you deal with such an individual? You focus on being directive. Right? So you're going to tell them exactly what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how to get it done. You're not going to focus on developing relationship with that person because they're not concerned about relationship either.
Yes.
Right? And your focus is get this task done. So that's how you deal with someone who's both unable and unwilling. The focus needs to be on the task, the right way to get it done. But let's say you have someone who is able. So let's say that same intern comes back for the second stint with you. So they know how to use the cameras and the switches and everything. But they're still not quite willing, right? Because again, they're just there because they need to get paid. At that time, you don't have to focus as much on the task because they understand the task now. What you start doing at that point in time is focusing on the individual to bring them along. Okay, so you're going to participate with them. You're going to engage with them. You see the distinction
I get
between.
you. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
No.
Let's move on. So you have somebody who now, let's say, again, willingness is an issue. And again, because you're focusing on the relationship, you're going to try and find out, okay, how can, let's work on the attitude. How can I get you on board? What about this might you find interesting? What's in it for you for, being more engaged in this role? So that because again, the sweet spot is getting them to the point where they're both able and willing.
And that's where you answer that question, the WIIFM, for sure. What's in it for me? You sell them on it. So they see the benefit in taking the action to making the change that you'd want to see effected as well. So the different management styles that we have to be able to employ at given times and see each person and each situation for what it is and recognize that this individual is the individual. Time is a factor, though, in a lot of cases for a lot of people. When you're in that position, the task has to be done, you have a deadline to meet. How do you, still knowing that you have to work within a particular time frame, get all this done, Joan? That for a lot of people is very difficult.
Yeah. And so it's important to look at it over a period of time and not just when you have something to get done. Because as leaders, it's not just a transaction, right? You're not just get this done and that's the end of it. These people are part of a team, they're direct report, you're their supervisor, boss, manager, whatever. So over a period of time, you develop relationship, and coaching is an important part of the relationship that we as managers, as leaders, need to develop with our people, so that over a period of time, you communicate to them that I'm invested in this relationship, I'm invested in helping you to maximize your potential and for the team to operate at an optimal level. So don't look at it as just one transaction. Oh my gosh, now I have to go and do all of this just to get this task done. But you're pouring into the person so that they become better, they become more able, and they become more willing. And then you continue to build at that. You get to a point, if you put the work in, that your people will all be able and willing. And if there are some instances, as you say, because there are new tasks that will come on board, but the willingness is already there. So it's not as heavy a lift to get the ability there as well.
Folks, we didn't just come to situational leadership on its own. We started this segment by looking at building trust, building relationships, and now we're into situational leadership. So it becomes, at this point, it should be a little bit easier because we took the time to set the foundation, building that trust, building that relationship. And now as situations occur, we're better able to use and navigate our way through because they trust us, they understand us, and we understand them as well. And that's what's so vital towards moving towards that situation where you're a better manager I love this lady. She's a sweetheart. Right is right on. You see that, right, Joan?
Yes, thank you, Roosevelt.
That's what people think. I love that, Joan. A 2x2. This is sweet. And you know, Joan, this is what's so important. I can't begin to imagine why for some people they find it so difficult when it's so simple to understand, I think, in most cases. But I think it's the practice of it that gets difficult because of other situations around us and because we're always pressured by time. But if you take the time every day to take the time to understand yourself, because we talked about managing self first, then you can better manage your emotions, become better emotionally intelligent, and you can see the forest for the trees. You really would. And you are better able then to handle people and see them not as units of production, but as breathing, living, moving, thinking adults who also have their own challenges that they're dealing with. Right. And we have to better understand them so that we can work more harmoniously. Joan, I got to leave it there. But yeah, we're going to come back to delegating next week. That's what we're going to look at for sure.
That's a big one.
That's biggie. Huge. I am telling you, I can't wait to delve into that one with you, should God spare life. Now, folks, don't forget, this will make a really great gift. I think it's really great reading. It's a good book to have. Go to Days Bookstore today. Days is probably going to have extended shopping hours today. So go to Days Bookstore and get the copy and gift it to someone. Gift it to yourself even, because the truths within this book are not just for the work office alone. It's good for your home. It's also good for your spaces among your friendships. So Days Bookstore is a great place to go get the book. You can go online as well to utdsinc.com and get the book from there, or you can get it on Amazon. So anywhere around the world, Joan Underwood's book will be in your library. This is the book to have indeed. So get a copy today, and most of all, just be a better person, be a better manager, be a better leader, be a better mother, father, uncle, aunt, whomever. Get the book. Thank you, Joan. And I hope to see you again soon, okay?
Indeed, and I can't leave without wishing you and the entire team there, a Christ-filled Christmas, and look forward to seeing you all next week.
Thank you so much, Joan. Back at you and yours. Thank you. That's Joan Underwood, our girl on a Wednesday morning. We're going to take that break here. We're coming back with more on Morning Barbados. 15 minutes to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. Our next guest is a Bajan Afar, and what a story to tell. Her name is Kandasi Chimbiri. Good morning to you, Kandasi.
Good morning, Pearson.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. A little bit cold here in London, but I'm doing well.
Well, we're doing well in hot, sunny Barbados. You know what to do. Get on the next plane and come on over.
Soon, very soon.
Soon and very soon you're coming to Barbados. Now, first of all, a couple of things. One, the last name. You know, we say Bajan and we don't think Chimbiri is a Bajan name. So where did that come from?
No, it's not. It's not a Bajan name. It's actually an African name.
All right, so it's an African. Do you have any idea what it means?
No, it doesn't. I don't actually. I don't think it has any meaning. I think it's just a region in Africa.
Okay, fair enough. Now, you're there. You were born in London, but in the 80s, 1980, you came to Barbados and you did your secondary education here. And now there you are again. So how has it been for you there, here, and back there? What does all that do to you?
Yes, I think when you live in more than one place, it gives you very different perspectives. My parents came to to London in the 60s. As you said, I was born here, but had all my secondary education in Barbados. But I actually came back to London when I was 28. So I had worked in Barbados as well. And now I've been here for more years, I'm going to tell you. But but it does influence you when you live in between two different places. It gives you different perspectives on both places, and I think it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. So much so that it's rooted you in your own identity. And you've written this book called The Afro Story. Talk to me a little bit, the story of the Afro hair. Talk to me about that.
Yes, so the story of Afro hair, 5,000 years of history, fashion and styles, is actually a book that I wanted to write since 2013. I worked on an exhibition at the Fitzwilliam Museum in Cambridge in 2013, which was tracing 6,000 years of Afro combs. So we were looking at Afro combs from ancient Egypt, right through to the modern black-fist comb. And it was a wonderful exhibition. I think about 30,000 people attended the exhibition, and people loved it for different reasons. But a lot of people that loved it were people who maybe weren't interested in black history, but they were very, very interested in hair. Because obviously one of the purposes of a comb, not the only purpose, but one of the purposes is obviously to groom and style the hair. And I remember at the time thinking it would be so good to have something like this, but more focused on the hair itself. And so the idea for this book, and it's not my first book, but the idea for this one has been bubbling in my mind for quite a while. And it covers ancient, medieval, and modern history. So 5,000 years, not of the styles, how to create them, but the context behind them. So why do we consider certain styles fashionable and acceptable? Why do we wear certain styles and why don't we wear others?
So how has that been, though, your move to the Afro hair in a space where you live, which is so cosmopolitan, but at the same time, they would look at you a little differently when you style your hair differently from theirs?
I personally haven't had that experience, but you're right. The context of writing the book, a lot of people have had that book, and there has been a lot of discussion recently, mainly at women, men too, but more at women, about hairstyles that are considered acceptable, not acceptable. Is Afro hair okay? Do you have to straighten your hair, and so on? So that was part of the context for my writing the book, not as something personal to me, but as something that could educate and help people to understand. So some of the book actually deals with the biology of the hair as well. So it's not just the history. It starts with explaining why Afro hair has the textures that it has, how it grows out of the hair follicle. I didn't see that in any other books for children. Just a few books for maybe people that were learning hairdressing, but it wasn't filtering down. And that's why I felt that was so important.
Now, obviously, you've studied this. I haven't read the book yet. Now, I'm curious then. So you said there's some questions as to why this or why that, why this, why the texture and so forth. What are the answers to those questions? I know you're going to tell me to read the book.
Well, the answers are in the book, of course, but it is to do with the shape of our hair follicles, which are pockets in the skin. And this is something that I feel quite passionate about, because one of the things that I noticed from 2013 when I was looking into this topic is that we don't see that in books for children and even for adults sometimes. We just see pictures. If you looked right now, if you Googled hair follicle on the internet right now, you would see a straight hair coming out of a straight hair follicle. That's not actually hair. That's one example. You wouldn't expect to Google skin color and just see one color of skin coming up. There are a diversity of skin tones, and there are also a diversity of hair types. An Afro hair type, like mine and yours, grows out of a curved hair follicle. So that's part of the reason. But there are other reasons as well, which are explained in the book.
In the book. In the book. You've got to read the book to see it for yourself. How has it been, though, being Barbadian in Southeast London? You know, do you get a chance to interact with many others who are from Barbados?
I do, because I have lots of friends here that we went to school together in Barbados who also live here. So we actually have a bit of a community. We're not all in South London. Some of us are in Reading, some of us are in Leeds. So it has been difficult, obviously, over the last couple of years with the pandemic. But there is a whole community of us, and also wider than Barbados, because even when I lived in Barbados, many friends would come and visit before I moved, you know, back to the UK, and they're from other countries as well. So it's Barbadian, but it's also pan-Caribbean and wider.
Oh, that's beautiful. If you had to make a choice right now of where would you want to really settle, would it be Barbados, or would it be for the staying in the UK?
It would actually be, right now, both. I would ideally like to live 6 months in Barbados and 6 months in the UK, because it's still useful to be in London part of the time for Black History Month, which is October here, to do the writing. There's so much information in museums and archives and institutions here which hasn't been told. It's not being used. It's just sitting there gathering dust. And that's actually what started me on this journey of writing these books 12 years ago and working with museums, because the Black history was just totally being ignored.
Knowing that, what's your view of Barbados and the telling of that history?
Well, Barbados is in a great position and a great place because we have got a lot of intelligent people who understand a lot about history, and we've got an interest in it. You know, we're a place where flights come in from all over the world. There is so much potential. But again, as with most things, it's not just about the potential, it's actually about seeing the vision and making it happen. And that's something that will take action. But we have so much potential to develop a Black history industry in Barbados, to develop the children's books around it, and people will be interested. I mean, people know here that I'm from Barbados, and they find it really interesting to hear my story. They are interested in the books, but they're also interested in how is it that I know these things when I come from Barbados and now I'm in London. So the potential is amazing, but will we do it? That's what we have to see.
I love it. You're using the word we. You're born in London, you know, and there are people who would say, but that's where I'm from. While I might have lived in Barbados for a little while, I am British. But you don't, how do you see yourself? Do you struggle with an identity where that's concerned?
I don't, because one of the things about the world, and even more so now, is that you can have multiple identities. I'm very, very comfortable with who I am. My parents are from Barbados. When I was growing up in London, even before I'd ever come to Barbados, I knew where my parents were from. I had my secondary school education in Barbados. I've lived here for many, many years. So I'm quite comfortable being a British-born Barbadian. If people want to diss me as Black British, I'm okay with that too. But I do strongly identify with my Barbadian culture and heritage.
I love it. What do you miss most about Barbados, though?
My parents and my sister, definitely. The sun, definitely the sun, and the sea, especially at the moment.
Oh boy, you would love it here for real. So your parents are here in Barbados?
Yes, they live in Christchurch.
So could you say hi to them? I want to say something to your parents.
Well, I hope that they're up watching this.
They're up, trust me.
I know my sister's watching, but I don't know if my parents are. But if they are, hi, Mummy and Daddy, I love you.
Oh, that is sweet. All across the waters from the UK to Barbados, Mommy and Daddy, I love you. If you wanted something sent to you right now that would remind you of Barbados, what would that thing be that we can send over to you?
Wow, that's a good one. Maybe a roti.
You are Barbadian. That is true. You are Barbadian. That roti, a roti from Chifet, right?
Chicken and potato one, yeah.
There you go. So Candace, tell me about the book again. Where can we get copies of the book, The Story of Afro Hair?
So with this book, it isn't actually at the moment in any shops in Barbados. It's been published by a very big educational publisher, one of the top in the world, called Scholastic. It's published by their UK section. So if you want it in Barbados, the best way to get it is to go to a website called the Book Depository, and they will offer you the book with free shipping, which is fantastic. So you don't pay any extra and at a very good price. And my family who have ordered the book from the Book Depository say that it comes quickly. They're really pleased with the service. So that's the way for Barbadians to get the book.
Fantastic. The Book Depository, go there and get it. And it comes free of cost and you get it quickly as well. What a great way. But Candace, it's so wonderful meeting you. Thank you so much for representing Barbados so very well and for writing the story of Afro Hair. And I want to encourage everyone to get a copy of the book and all of the other books which you've written as well. You can find her on Instagram at Candace Chimbiri, and there she is, representing Barbados so well. The roti is on its way. Look out for it on the next flight when it lands at Heathrow. Thank you so much, Candace. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you,
All the
Barbados.
best. All the best indeed. We're going to take a break here. We're coming back after this.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So, mere seconds to go. Tomorrow, when you join me here for Morning Barbados, we'll be giving some books to some children for Christmas. Those of you between 6 to 13 years old, get on your phone tomorrow to call because that wonderful gift can be yours. Compliments of the author, Kerry Blackman Messiah. That's tomorrow morning. But this evening, right here on TV8, Marsville, Uncle Marsville is going to be having his virtual Christmas party. He and his friends, starting at 9:03, and you can be a part of it. It's a charity event, so we want you to donate as well. A virtual benefit show for the entire family. Christmas with Uncle Mars and friends this evening on TV8, also on our Facebook and YouTube channels as well. So great reasons to stay with us, Bajan TV. That's it for today. Thanks to my production crew of Nadia Foster, producer, Ruel Ford, technical director. There is Michael Sobers at sound, and Tamisha Green at master control. I'm Pearson Bowen. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.